So hello there, everybody, and thanks for joining us today on another weekly ConnectSMART webinar. My name is Jen Coffey. I work on our Pro Services team, and I'm joined by David Ortiz from our support team, as well as Kat Olarte from the sales side of things. Today's topic is a comprehensive training session on creating and configuring dashboards from start to finish. And our agenda today, we are going to do a quick audience poll since we've got you here, just to ask you a quick one question, and just cover some prerequisites, things that you should expect to have in place before you go and try to do what we do in the demo here today, which is pretty standard. It's just have ConnectSMART. And then I'm going to cover some of the documentation and reference materials that are available to you for this webinar and other webinars. And then the demo, which I'm sure you're all here for, is where we'll be going through selecting the available gadgets, configuring and publishing the gadgets, adding gadgets to a dashboard, modifying the dashboard layout, and modifying gadget appearance. So during today's webinar, you can use the control panel, your GoToWebinar control panel, to ask questions. You can raise your hand to get the floor and speak. You can chat with the organizers. And if you have any specific questions or you want us to pause, go back, redo something, or if there's a specific example you would like to see, do not be shy. We do want your feedback, and we will adjust as we go based on what feedback you give us. So, like I said, the prerequisites are pretty straightforward. You basically need a ConnectSMART server with the latest version of ConnectSMART installed, and you're good to go. This webinar will not touch on installing ConnectSMART at all. So if you do need assistance with that, we do have docs on the docs site, and we also have some videos that you can reference as well. Okay, so some of the materials that are available to you. All right, so at our docs site, which is at docs.connectsmart.com, you can access downloads, any other content related to today's webinar. You can check out recordings of related webinars that you weren't able to attend, or if you drop off this one, you can always come back and listen to the record or watch the recording. But basically, there will be links to the files that we use or discuss today, this slideshow, and any links to related content, whether it's on our site or it's external, whether it's something that explains maybe a definition that ConnectWise uses, or has, maybe a white paper that explains a concept a little better. That's where you'll find all that. And for the recording, so then the page itself will have the related content and the webinar recording. You can also just access from the video gallery as well. So you can just quickly access all our videos pretty quickly that way as well. That's it for the slideshow. I'm actually going to go ahead and jump into the Gadget Creator and start moving through some of those items on our list. But this is the dashboard we're going to end up with. So that is, we're going to start from scratch, and we are going to end up with this dashboard by the end. And here we go. So give me one moment to rearrange some screens, and we will get started. Okay. All right, so when you log into ConnectSMART, you've already got it installed. You're going to go to localhost.connect/ConnectSMART, and this is the main screen that you're going to see. And we're going to start with, let me just get this out of the way, excuse me. So we're going to start with the Gadget Creator, and that's because we're going to go ahead and select the gadgets that we want to use. So in my available gadgets, I am going to select the gadgets that I want to publish. And here are my providers. So if you have ConnectSMART with for ConnectWise or for Cloud Connect or ConnectIO Direct or LabTech, all these providers are going to be here in the dropdown available for you to select. If you haven't set up your integration with them, obviously they're not going to work, though they are available for you. So you can peruse what gadgets are available. And for today's purposes, I am going to stick with ConnectSMART for ConnectIO Direct. That's based on our data warehouse, which consolidates data from, say, ConnectWise, LabTech, your financials, any other data sources you guys are using. So to recreate the dashboard that I showed you, I'm going to need to grab a few different gadgets. I'm going to need to get the not responded, not res planned, not resolved, and those are open tickets. So open tickets not resolved, open tickets not res planned. So here is just where you click to select and configure and publish. So you can select multiple from the same category. So I am looking for not responded, not res planned, not resolved, and I also need open tickets by priority, open tickets aging, and open tickets by tech. So, and what was it? Open tickets by tech. So I've grabbed those 6. My others are actually in a different category. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the others first. So service SLA, and we are looking to set these to, I'm going to set my trending stuff to 7 days for today's demo. So I'm going to use the ones that are actually looking for a rolling X days. However, if you're looking for a specific time period, we do have a ton of these. So you've got last month, last week, this month, this year, last year. So you've got pretty much anything you could think of. And then if that's not sufficient, you can always manually enter in the number of days that you want. So here I'm going to grab resolution, res plan hours for rolling X days, and looking for the same thing for response time. And with response time, keep in mind, folks, you do have response hours and response minutes. So whichever one makes the most sense for your situation is the one you should use. In my case, response minutes on the board I'm going to be looking at make a little more sense since that is our reactive board, and we do respond to these tickets pretty quickly. All right, so now after I've selected my gadgets from the available gadgets, when I select the configure and publish option, it actually bounces me over to my organization's gadgets in the unpublished section. And you can see that the 2 categories where I've selected gadgets from show up now. And if you look in published, you will see these are actually the gadgets that are out on that dashboard that I showed you in the screenshot, or not the screenshot, but the slideshow. So I'm going to actually, just to clear these out for purposes of making life easier for everyone so you don't have to see them, I'm going to get them out of my published folder for the moment. So this is exactly like starting from scratch. So I just essentially just emptied out my published folder. So that is gone now. So for our unpublished, that's just so I don't have duplicates during the demo today. It's going to be a little difficult to tell if open tickets by tech or the other open tickets by tech is the one we're looking for. So just to keep some confusion at bay. But so for the open tickets, the simple process of configuring a gadget is once it's here, you're just going to go to Edit Gadget. You'll have parameters available, and since these are ticket gadgets, they typically will have the board name, the service type, the status, the priority, and the business group. When it's one that's looking for rolling X days, you'll also see a number of days parameter where you can put in 7 or 30 or 90, depending on the number of days that you would like to see. That is here, so I will... Oh, I am being informed that you can't see this. I'm not sure what's going on with my screen being shared. So why is that? Seems to be some weird thing. Oh, there we go. All right, let me just make sure that comes up. Okay, so sorry, folks. I was showing you over here, the parameters over here where my, okay, So in the parameters, you've got your board name, and down here, it'll actually give you a list of your service boards that you can choose from. Same thing with service types, status. And let's say I wanted to see open tickets by tech, but I don't want to see the tickets that are in a completed status. I don't care about those. They're already done. There's nothing for the engineer to do with them. That actually is what this option is here for. So the option to include versus exclude. So if I wanted to exclude a certain status, I would select the status from my dropdown. And let's say I was going to use completed, I'd select it, and then I would switch this to excluded, and then I would see all open tickets by tech with the exception of the ones that are in that status. Now, similarly, if I wanted to see only open tickets in a particular status or in a number of statuses and a subset of statuses, I can do the same thing. I can select, the 4 statuses that I actually care about, and then I can have this restricted down to just that. So these parameters do allow you to take these sort of template gadgets and filter them down to exactly what you're trying to get to. So you may want to just see a chart of all in progress tickets by tech. You want to change your title, obviously, but that's going to give you different visibility than just seeing all of everyone's open tickets. So use the parameters, filter it down. You can always reuse this. You could have one that shows you the breakdown of all of their tickets, and then there's more targeted ones to get you an idea of what people's workload is based on the service type or their priorities, things like that. So these are here for you to kind of fine-tune these as much as you need to. While I've got you in here, I'm going to take you over to the Properties tab. And the Properties tab is where you can rename your gadget. This corresponds to the file name. And this is, these are some chart controls that you have. You can add some scrolling that will typically be off by default. You can turn it on if need be, if you did need to be able to scroll from right to left. A data grid will pop the grid for your results underneath your gadget. Now keep in mind, the data grid is going to be very difficult to see if you have a lot of columns, so we typically don't use it except in specific cases. And here we go. So with charts, you can flip through different chart styles. So if this didn't fit that well as a bar and I needed it to be more vertical, I could actually switch it to same kind of chart, just flipped so that it fits in a more vertical space. Similarly, I can use lines and could see a breakdown of tickets by tech and so on. I'm going to put it back to a bar though, because for me that works today. And the legend box. So if you turn the legend on and off, and mind you, when you make these changes, they'll be rendered immediately, but you'll need to preview again to get your data to come back in. So in this case, actually this looks like we need to get that updated to reference that that is the count of tickets and give it a title. So I will make note of that. And if we had multiple series on the chart, which is probably for a more advanced webinar, this is where you'd actually turn them on and off. So if you had multiple lines, you could actually flip them on and off. We've got some standard charts that have things like the response time, the res plan time, the resolution time over time, and you may only care about resolution and response time and not the res plan time. That's what that's for. You can just basically toggle it to make the series disappear. And this title corresponds to just the main title, so you can edit it right in here, change that. So if you happen to make it in progress tickets, you just simply update it. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that open since I'm not going to make this specifically in progress only. And view 3D just changes how the chart looks. These are typically going to be on by default, but you can flip through whichever one you prefer. I'm going to leave it, and this will actually rotate the whole chart, which I don't care for, so I will not. And you can also play with shadows. There we go. So play with the parameter, or play with the different properties until it looks how you like it, but there's always going to be more properties anyway for charts. You have fewer options with the gauges. Now alerts, I'm going to actually come back to alerts on another gauge instead of a chart. But I'm going to go ahead and close out of this one after I select the board that I want. So that makes that fit a little better. Now for the rest of these, I'm going to just go ahead and publish without configuring in any particular way. That's so I can get them over to the dashboard and start using them there. And I also want to show you how you can update gadget parameters from the dashboard, so you don't have to only do it over here. Okay. Now, my gadgets are all now in published. I don't have anything back in unpublished any longer. So these are the gadgets that I want to go ahead and put on that dashboard. And just as a reminder, that was this one, which so just as a reminder, this is the dashboard that we're going to be recreating. So the not responded, not res plan, not resolved, open tickets by priority, and so on. So these I'm going to go ahead and get added on to my dashboard. And let me pop you back down here where you can see. So I just went back to the home. And to get to my dashboard viewer, I can go from here or from within the Gadget Creator or anywhere really. I can just grab over here. Click on over to the dashboards. And this is the dashboard I just made that I had that screenshot of because I deleted those gadgets. It is erroring out, not a problem. We're going to recreate it anyway. It's just looking for gadgets that don't exist in the file or in the folder. So I am going to go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to call this the webinar dashboard. Put it in the webinar category. And you make these up on the fly. So if I were to type webinar 1, I'd have a category of webinar 1. If I were to create a new one, just make up a whole new category, it will appear. And organization versus personal. Personal is going to put it in your folder, so it's only visible to you and administrators. So your other colleagues won't see this dashboard. It won't clutter up the organization. And organization just means that the dashboard is going to be available publicly for anybody who's got rights to view dashboards. So I am going to go ahead and start grabbing my gadgets, and just take note, you can double click them and they'll just pop over. You can also drag the gadgets directly onto the dashboard. Once I get one more, there we go. Come here. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just refreshing, clearing my cache a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I can drag them. I can pop them on like this, or I can just double click. Okay, so that's not all of them. I forgot a few of my service trends, so bear with me one moment. I'm going to bounce back over to the Gadget Creator. I'm going to open that in a new tab, switch over, and I need my service trends, which are my hours entered per ticket, touches per ticket, and hours waiting, average hours waiting per ticket. So where do we go? Past X days. And average touches. Here we go. Just like the others, I'm going to just go ahead and publish these without doing any configuration. Oops, sorry about that. I muted myself. Let's go ahead and grab the rest of those gadgets. Those were the service trends gadgets that I forgot. So while I'm here, I am going to go ahead and start moving things around to match my dashboard that I had before. And that is going to be tickets not responded, tickets not res plan, tickets not resolved, response minutes, res plan hours, resolution hours, and average hours, average touches, average waiting.
Jen, just one thing I wanted to mention. This is a pretty popular question. I just thought I'd touch on it right here, and sorry for the interruption. Notice across the top border and left border of the dashboard, you're going to see those autos, where it says auto along the top and sides. Each one of those represents a column and a row. As long as a column or a row is there and you have empty space, you can actually move or expand a gadget into that empty space. Just thought I'd address that.
For sure. So David touches on a very good point. Folks will sometimes see a dashboard as it is right now and say, well, I need to make, for example, response minutes larger, or I need to do not responded tickets. I need to make larger, but I can't just drag it to make it bigger. So one of the things that you can do is either grab one of these other gadgets. I use the HTML gadget sometimes, or just take one of your other gadgets, pop it on over. That's going to actually open up some space for you to do that. And so let's say I want this to be larger than the others. And if I wanted to actually make it taller, I can similarly do this. Now, I'm not going to do that for today, but that's the thing. If you want to go ahead and get stuff out in various places, you can always just add one and then scoot it around and free up some space, which just lets you drag, assuming you can work a mouse and actually select the gadgets. And now those spaces are freed up. It's really easy to get stuff over there. So I'm going to switch this back and get these here. And average hours waiting, average touches.
And notice as Jen moves the gadgets, when she clears a row and column of a gadget, either the row or column will disappear when it's not in use.
I'll show you that right now. So I'm going to make this column vanish, and the whole dashboard's going to shift around. Ta-da! There we go. So yes, if you have any questions like that coming out, do yell them at David, and we will make sure to touch on them for you. You can even say them nicely to David. That's fine. So let's see.
All right, fine.
All right, so average hours per, average touches. Hang on, let me get this over here. Okay, so that was pretty basic in terms of how to move stuff around. So if there's any questions about the actual layout, now is probably a good time to yell them out or ask for an example. What I'm doing right now, though, is if you click on your gadgets while you're in edit mode of the dashboard, so that new dashboard that I created, by default is created while I'm still in edit mode. So if I were to save that out and I want to make changes to the dashboard, I'm actually going to hit edit. And then I'm going to make whatever changes I like. But when I click on a particular gadget, I can select here to view parameters and this, which corresponds to this title, which we can then remove so that you don't actually have to worry about that. You can just leverage the titles that are already in your gadgets. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out. We have some folks who like to leave the gadgets blank with just the value and just use the title, from the file name itself. So that is an option you have as well. Okay. All right, so titles are out of the way. Now, and that just makes them all sit a little more flush. Now, I told you I was going to show you how to configure the gadgets from the dashboard. So I selected a board name on one of them, but I didn't on the others so that I could hurry up and get stuff over here. I am going to, once again, take my dashboard out into edit mode. I'm going to select my gadget. So in this case, not responded. parameters here are going to be, I want the incident management board, and you see that has updated already. So here we go, same thing. I want incident management. I don't want all the boards, and you're going to see my numbers all updating quite a bit since I'm filtering down to just a single board and not everything in ConnectWise. Now, if you guys want to do something like this and then have everything looking at one board, we do have a way to pass parameters in the URL of the dashboard. So if you're feeling like getting fancy, go ahead and take a look at those parameterized URLs, and it'll save you this step of updating each gadget with the board that you want to look at, or whatever that one sort of universal parameter might be for you. And this is the one that I actually configured when we were in the creator, so I don't need to do that one. So I went ahead and I hit save. Now these are looking at a past X days. And actually I'm going to pop over to the Gadget Creator really quick to take a look at those. And I wanted to show you actually how to modify titles. So as you see, this one's average SLA hours to resolution. It doesn't fit that well, so I'm going to get rid of it. And I'm actually going to go ahead and say that this is the past 7 days because I'm going to set this gadget to have 7 days on it. And I went ahead and I updated that, and we'll do the same kind of thing over here. And switch this guy to 7. And I'm going to switch this guy to 7. And then I'm going to go update those titles. So the bottom titles all reflect that. These are 7 days. That one's already done. So res plan hours, switch that one to 7. Oop. 7, not Y. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the average here as well, since that doesn't really make it fit very well. Okay, so I've got these guys updated. I've got these titles all looking consistent. I have hours entered per ticket, touches per ticket, and hours waiting. Same thing. These are actually looking at the past 7 days. And, well, they're going to be once I update them. They have defaults set in them already. Go ahead and make that. Okay. Very good. Okay, so that looks very much like the other dashboard that we had. Now I am going to show you how to set some alerts. So alerts will control things like color conditions essentially. So if I never want to have not responded tickets, which in most cases are going to be new, unassigned, untouched tickets that have just hit your service board, I might want this one to go to yellow when I have, say, a single new ticket. And if it exceeds, say, 5 new tickets, I might want that to be red so that it's very, very obvious that that's going to be a problem. So open tickets not responded. Typically, you're going to have a short response window, so you're not going to want to have a lot of open unresponded tickets typically. So I'm going to go ahead and add an alert here. And what that is I'm going to say the gadget value is greater than a numeric constant of 0, means I want to see a warning. So I want to see the gadget, there we go, turning yellow. And I'll show you, it doesn't have to only make that the whole gadget yellow. You can have it set to just do the border or just do the value. So I'm going to say more than 2 is a threat. And I'm going to say anything more than 5, I want it to be bright blazing red. Sorry, 5. And on. Add alert. Okay. So I'm over 1, but I'm under 3, or I'm under 2, so I don't want to see orange, and yellow is what I'm looking for. And one of the things that's going to control how your dashboard looks most of the time is going to be the styles and the themes, and the alert targets are what controls if this is going to show up as the background versus, say, the border. So if I remove that, you see the border is highlighted, but not the whole gadget. So it's a little easier on the eyes if you've got a bunch of them. And then this one, I'll actually update the value of the gadget instead of, I'll take the border off so you can see what I mean. So the actual value being displayed on the gadget has been updated to display whatever color you've selected. And that applies to all of these. Same concept, you're going to set whatever thresholds are appropriate for you, whether it's a decimal, as in you don't want to go over 2.5 hours to resolution or something like that. That's where you'd set those thresholds. And they're all customizable and pretty granular. You can get pretty specific. So back to the motifs, or the styles and the themes, which replaced motifs for those of you who used earlier versions. Classic's going to take you back to that sort of LED style that we used to have, that you probably remember from CS3. And modern is a flatter kind of UI. It's just the text is a little fatter. Very similar to thin, which is essentially the same thing, but just a different font. And then if you go to none, things get really ugly. So don't do that unless you know what you're doing. Yeah, that's really not something you want to do. You want to let the themes control stuff for you. But if you have something that's just really custom, really specific, you can definitely use none so that you can force overrides to whatever it is you've configured custom. But as you can see, if you do that with our standard gadgets out of the box, it's going to get ugly. So use that only if you know you need to use it. Most of the time, when in doubt, you don't need it. So I'm going to go back to thin. And then just to show you, so those cover just kind of the appearance side, and then the themes are more of like a color palette. So black is going to make those borders disappear, and you'll have sort of floating gauges. And let's see, so if we do classic, it's just lighter, not super easy on my eyes, so I'm going to go ahead and jump on over to another one. So dark has the blue is the default or the neutral color, whereas the high contrast has this light gray as the neutral color, but are otherwise pretty similar. And then the default here is going to go ahead and give you the red background with the high contrast border. So things are very compartmentalized, and just flip through the rest of them so you can kind of see how they work. A lot of this is just going to come down to where you're displaying it, who's looking at it, and what you prefer. But I'm going to go back to my high contrast and thin because that's what I like. And I'm going to put the border back because I also like that. Of course, I refreshed first. All right, so my border is back. And we've got, let's see. All right. So some other things that we can do to modify gadgets, these values. Let's say I didn't want the decimal place for my hours to res plan, my hours to resolution. I'm going to go back over to the Gadget Creator. I'm going to go find those gadgets, which are SLA gadgets. And for res plan, I'm going to select it to edit it. And I'm going to go right here. So that's what this is, my value format. And right now it is a number with decimals, and I'm going to take it down to a whole number. And that's what's going to happen there. So I'm going to go ahead and update this. And you see we went from the 1.2 or 1.3 or whatever it was to just 1. So you can control your value format in the gadgets individually as needed. I'm going to go ahead and put mine back to the decimal since I do want that. And the value padding will just move your guys over here. And I'm getting a little ridiculous with all of these, but essentially if you want to pad your values so that they're all consistent and right aligned, you can use your value padding there to force them that way. I'm going to put it back to 0 because I want mine just to be centered. You can modify the size. I'm not sure if the preview will honor that. The theme may override that. Let me double check. Yes. So that's one where the theme is going to override it, but technically, if you want to, you can. I'm going to go back to 0.75 since that's the normal default. Now, note you can change your categories if you'd like. So if you don't like our categories and you want to call it something like Jen's Awesome Dashboard, that way you'll know anything in that category is yours or it goes to that dashboard. Very simple. So, ta-da! All it takes is typing something in there and it'll get generated on the fly. So I'm going to put it back to service, sorry, SLA, just so I don't have one random gadget floating around. And I want that to drop off. Get out of none. There we go. So do we have any questions, or is there anything I can cover today that we haven't touched on already, or anything you'd like to see in action or demo? All right, give me one moment. I do have a question. So Sonny has a question about if the average and per type controls, if they can be limited to the numbers that are valid. So for instance, in an average time or an average hours per ticket number, he wants to exclude 0 time tickets. And that's something that we can either version the gadget and have one that excludes it and one that doesn't. I know that we plan to add those controls as we make some changes to the back end here, but it's not something that happens right now. Sonny, if you see something like that, though, where you just need something flipped like that, we can pretty quickly just get you one that's switched over. And so we're rolling out new content all the time. And let's see. So Rob is asking, how can you hide the descriptions on the pie charts? So Rob, give me one moment. I just want to, do you mean these here where it's saying the actual, like the priorities that are associated? It should be the legend itself, but let's just double check and make sure I'm not telling you lies. Okay. Okay, gotcha. So the only way to, this doesn't actually preview very well, my apologies. I'm going to go ahead and save that so you can see it, how it looks on the dashboard. So if you pop the legend back in, it'll move them over here away from the pie chart, but of course that comes with the trade-off of now you've got a legend making your pie chart smaller. You technically can turn them off, but it can be modified. And give me one moment. So Rob, did that answer your question? I will, where are you? There you are. Hey Rob, you're not muted. If you, did that answer that, or do you want to clarify? Ah, no mic. All right, fair enough. Well, yell if you need me, and I will go back to that. So Keith has a question about the desktop viewer. So Keith, give me one moment. I'm going to just let you ask us yourself. What's up, Keith? Do you have a mic?
Yes, I have a mic. I just noticed when we were using the viewer and opening up dashboards, under the windows you start seeing multiple dashboards populating and not seeing how to clean those up or eliminate them as you're doing any testing or any.
Okay, this is when you're actually using the one that you install, the local desktop viewer?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not able to really see that, and I don't have it installed locally here. I am on a different machine, but I can get someone to touch base with you right after and take a look.
Actually,
Okay.
Keith, real quick,
Oh, I
that may
forgot I
be
have
a
that
simple.
someone here.
There you go. It may be a simple versioning. If you are on an earlier build, it's absolutely true that doesn't exist to remove those windows. But in I believe in 4.08 or 4.09, we implemented a new feature where you can just kind of remove. It gives you the option to remove those different windows that have been accruing there over time as you built dashes.
Okay, yeah, I thought we were current. I'll have to verify. I knew we were in 4.0. We might not have 4.08.
Okay, well, actually, we're by 410 now, so if you want to go and download that, one thing I do have to say, though, if you do upgrade, uninstall your current desktop viewer and then install from the new build in order to get those new features.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks so much, Keith. All right, so let's see, Rob. Okay, Rob, so I just, while David and Keith were chatting, I went and scrolled through some of the different themes, and I wasn't able to recreate that. So I don't know if you could give us an example that does that. I can dig into that a little deeper. So, anybody else got anything that they need to ask or that they would like to see or something that's been bugging them? Want to know if something's possible? Want to put in an enhancement request without going through the normal channels? You have my attention, and we prioritize the dev stuff, so there we go. So Christian's asking about drill downs and if they'll still work within the dashboards. And I apologize, Christian, I don't know the context of that. So if you mean switching from an older version to CS4, then yes, absolutely. I'll show you here. See that? So just like before, same kind of deal. The drill downs work, and you'll just click through. Let me see, scoot out of here. Yeah, so drill downs. So the high priority. So on the charts, when you click, you'll get only the high priority and so on. So Christian, if you could just let us know if that answers your question, or here, I will, you've got no audio, it looks like. So just let me know. Okay, it looks like, yeah, you're talking about an older version. So yes, nope, drill down functionality is definitely in place and should be working pretty well. Also, just a note, but right now you can click on your ticket link. It'll take you right to your ConnectWise in the browser, and you just log in. You access the ticket directly. It's only going to prompt you to log in that one time. So after that, when you're working in your drill downs, you can go right to the tickets that are causing the problems or for whatever reason showing up on your dashboard and update them. You can assign them, you can change the status, whatever that is, to get them cleared out of the dashboard. And I just want to let you guys know that we are actually going to get support here for more than just tickets. So you'll be able to drill into specific opportunities. I cannot remember if agreements are one. I think invoices may be one. I know there's a number of different record URLs we're able to use now. So that is coming soon. I do not have an ETA, so if you ask me, I'm just going to tell you something sweet and nice. Let's see. So what other tickets do we have here? Or questions that we have here?
Jen, Dino Camacho actually has a simple request here. He asks, is it possible to show us how to do the slideshow?
Yes, Dino, we certainly can. So the slideshow, let me just get back to a normal look because this is just really making my eyes bleed. There we go. So I'm going to stop demoing hideous mismatched themes. But to make a slideshow, you are not going to click the button that I am hovering on. You're actually going to click this guy here. And when you hover, should pop up. Yes, so show in full screen mode. Can't see what you guys see now. There we go. So that. And in this case, I only have one dashboard. So give me a sec and I'll steal one. Not in my Outlook though. I just had a few, so I'll just add an extra dashboard that I had. Okay, so now bear in mind I'm moving over a dashboard, but not the gadgets. So the dashboard is going to be quite terrifying, displaying a bunch of errors saying it's trying to show gadgets that do not exist. Oops. All right, so I'm gonna click here, webinar, all, and let's do that and start. So I have it set to 5 seconds, I think. There we go. That's my other dashboard. In a perfect world, I would have those gadgets all moved over, but they have been shuffled out of my published folder for safekeeping. But this is it, flipping through the dashboard, and if I were to move the gadgets back into my published folder, the other one would also show them just like a normal dashboard. So Dino, did that explain that? Does that make sense? Is there something more I can show you there or any particular issue you've run into? All right, so let's see. What else do we have today? So let's see. So Hillary's asking if she can create a gauge for average numbers of ticket responses per tech. And Hillary, I'm going to tell you that yes, you absolutely can. It's a bit outside the scope of this webinar just because it's a custom gadget. We do have another webinar that shows you how you can quickly make custom gauges in literally 5 or 10 minutes if you have a query ready to go. And with the reporting views that we've set up on our new our new data warehouse, those will actually make it very easy for you to come up with those queries as well. So if you don't have a lot of SQL background, the reporting views are going to pull together enough information that you really don't need anything particular. You don't need any in-depth knowledge to get some pretty complex data in your custom gadgets. But yes, you absolutely can. I don't have one in the catalog currently. And so we can talk about that after as well if you have any more specific questions on that custom gadget. And let's see. So Stuart's saying, are the service trends and service SLA gadgets new gadgets? I don't have them in my 4.x installation. Stuart, those are the ConnectIO Direct gadgets. So they're actually looking at our data warehouse. Yep, there you go. You found them. All right, Stuart's way ahead of me. He didn't want to wait for me to answer, and he found it on his own. But yeah, these are, you'll see all the new content that's coming out. That is typically going to be our ConnectIO Direct. It's where we're focusing a lot of our energy. We're putting out lots of new metrics. We're developing dashboards and things with peer groups so that you guys have stuff ready to go out of the box on its way. So that is where you'll see a lot of these webinars focused. We'll be using the ConnectIO Direct stuff as examples. So let's see. So Trevor's asking, can you show what gadgets are available for opportunities? And let's see what's in here thus far. I don't know that we have any yet. Nope. I don't have them in here, but I can tell you that I have a bunch that are in staging right now. They're not actually pushed out in a latest build. But Trevor, if you are anxiously awaiting sales opportunity gadgets, I can put in a ticket, make sure I get that to you before as soon as they're ready, at least for you to start using locally. They'll be out in another build soon, but I mean, they should be fine for you to go ahead and start using once they're tested initially. So we can get those over to you, but we do have a bunch coming. So lots of charts, lots of groupings by sales stage, sales rep, the status, all of those things. So, and it's also grouping things like your estimated margin, your actual your estimated gross margin, your actual estimated revenue, counts, things like that. So there's pretty big push there to get a lot more sales gadgets out there, plus the ones that you saw before in the ConnectWise on-prem stuff. Okay, so Sonny is asking about having the older version of ConnectSMART and if this is included. Oh, looks like Kat or David just gave you a poke there to let you know that we're going to get in touch with you on that. Okay, and all right. So I don't see any new questions, but if anybody has anything, I will certainly take it. Or if you want to, if you'd like to have the floor, I can unmute you if it's easier than typing. Just raise your hand so I know you want to talk and I will come find you. Okay. Dino, so I was mentioning to Hillary as well about the custom gadgets, and you absolutely can create custom gadgets. And while I've got you guys here, let me just show you where you can see some of that stuff. So, custom. Oh, this is the actual slideshow for it. So that's custom HTML gadgets. This one is a recording that we did, I want to say earlier this week, last week, showing you how to do the custom HTML gadgets. And those are all based strictly off basically iframes and HTML content. So they're just essentially HTML5 containers. But that is pretty unique. Let me show you the custom ones, which I could have searched for, but didn't. Let's see. So custom gauges and charts. There we go. Apparently I failed in mouse clicking today. But this one's going to show you a video that takes you start to finish creating a chart, and it's also going to include a bunch of custom gadgets that are already set up that we did and worked with in the actual webinar. So you can take a look at that one, and that should actually get you going. So essentially all you need to know is how to get a SQL query together and pop it on in there, and that should take you the rest of the way. Stuart's asking, how frequently does ConnectIO update? It depends on the records, but it will update about every minute or so for the most frequently updated records. And everything gets updated on some level of frequency. It just depends on the record, honestly. Some things update 15 minutes, some in an hour, some just daily. And you can always manually force the refreshes as well. So if you made a bunch of changes to your setup tables or things that are less frequently touched, you can always just push a manual. And is it better to get the numbers directly from ConnectWise? Depends. If you're getting your stuff directly from ConnectWise, you are at the mercy of ConnectWise APIs and reporting views continuing to work and not changing. That has been a problem in the past for some folks, but it also is going to reduce a lot of load off of your ConnectWise server. So you've got folks working on your production server, This is going to take the load off from your dashboards, from your reporting, all of that. You can yank data directly into Excel, and you're not going to have things locking up and taking forever to refresh and then slowing down things on the ConnectWise side. So there are a lot of advantages to using the data warehouse because there are also additional metrics that we can't get you in your on-prem server, and additional reporting views that we also can't necessarily put together in your ConnectWise on-prem server. We also, just as an aside, we are supporting things like custom commission reporting for certain peer groups, and we definitely can't handle that inside of your SQL server. So being able to pull all that out into the data warehouse, write the custom views, write the tables, and build out the reports and schedule the reports, send the reports, all of that is it's a whole new world, and it's much better on the data warehouse side. But really, just reducing the load on your ConnectWise server is something that folks are finding pretty valuable just in its own right. All right, guys, anybody got anything else I can cover for you, or are you guys ready to get on with the rest of your day? All right, it looks like we are pretty much done then. But yes, so the custom gauges and charts, like I said, all here. And you can actually grab the ones we've already created. Same thing with the other stuff. So take a peek. We've been doing a lot of these every week, sometimes twice a week. So we're adding more and more content, and you guys should have lots of stuff to kind of keep you busy. Also, we have, for those of you who are already using Connect.io Direct, if you do not have the latest version, or you didn't grab the one that came out this week, we do have additional gadgets getting added every build. So almost every week there's new gadgets out there. So it's really worth it to run the installer either way, even if you're not having any bugs or any other issues, just to get those new gadgets. But with that said, if I don't have any other questions, I am going to go ahead and wrap up and let you guys get on with your day. David, does it look like we are all good, or you got anybody floating around waiting?
It looks all good here. No more new questions.
All right, guys. You're not cut off, so if you want to ask us a question after the webinar, feel free just to send it to support@connectsmart.com, and we'll happily answer it there.
Actually, Jen, one more before we go. Stuart Demeter actually asks if there is a doc on updating. There isn't per se, but if you follow the installation guide, just download the new build and follow the install guide, you should be all set.
Yeah, Stuart, because we don't recommend installing on your existing ConnectSMART server unless you're going to just wipe it out and do a complete clean install. So essentially, instead of an upgrade path, it's just a clean install no matter what. And I think that is all I've got. So unless somebody sneaks one in, I am going to go ahead and shuffle things around and wrap this up. And this will be posted on the site, so if there's anybody in your organization who you think can take advantage, go ahead and share it with them, and it'll be up momentarily. Thank you guys so much, and thanks very much for the feedback, and I will let you go now. Have a good one.
Have a good one, guys.